Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about a movie that I actually worked on, and it is called Last Cab to Darwin. It's an Australian movie starring Michael Caine as the character Rex, who is a cab driver in Broken Hill who finds out he has cancer. And he starts looking for ways out, which he finds a way through voluntary euthanasia, which was legalised in the Northern Territory at that time. So he makes the call to drive 3,000 kilometres to Darwin to, end the situation. It is based on a true story. There was a Four Corners episode about it, and I'm sure there was a lot of other networks who would have done stories about it. Back in the 90s, I believe the real life cab driver was named Max. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I seem to remember that there was a cab driver named Max who this might have been adapted from. Definitely, it's a really emotional story, great cast. So what's the little things I learnt from working on this movie? I got to go out to Broken Hill twice during the production of this movie. Once during pre-production, and I got to go out there, help the art department, basically learn little things from like production, learn little things from being around film that I may not have known before even working on it, because I was new to the industry at the time. And then I went back out during filming in April 2013, or no, April 2014. And yes, I learned a lot more during the filming than I knew before this. Little things like little Easter eggs that no one else knows except people who worked on the film. Like there was a scene in this movie where Mick, Michael Caine, he's leading a dog into the bushes at one point during this movie, and I'm not going to go too far into this because obviously I don't want to spoil the movie. But there's a scene where he's leading the dog into the bushes at one point during the movie. The shot was filmed at night, so you'll know what scene I'm talking about when you watch the movie. But there's a scene during that scene. The dog Badger. The dog doesn't have a name in the movie, so the dog is actually named Badger. He was from a stage play of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in Adelaide. Cutest dog, still a pup. I think he was only 2 or 3 years old. But the dog gets a bit ahead of Michael Caine when Michael Caine's leading him in the bushes, and pops Michael Caine's arm out of the socket. And obviously, he was playing a cancer victim, so it may have helped with the overall performance of the movie. But yeah, if he looks like he was in pain during this movie, it's probably because he was. That happened very early on in the production of the movie. So yeah, Last Cab to Darwin is about a cab driver driving to Darwin. It's also a really early movie from Mark Cole-Smith. Anytime I have this little thing now where anytime Darwin's mentioned or anything, I do the Mark Cole-Smith impersonation, and I'm like, that's Fair Drive all the way Darwin. And it's just so hilarious because that's like the best quote of the whole movie in my opinion. And I talk to Darwin a lot. I talk to people in Darwin a lot, so I have a job still now where I have to interact with people from Darwin and with people from all states because I still work in the media with the news. And I'm sure people have caught where I work in the past. I'm sure people have figured it out by now that I work with Channel 2, ABC. That came after my time in film. So that I started at ABC in 2017. This movie was produced in 2014, released in 2015. So yeah, Last Cab to Darwin is I have a sentimental connection to Last Cab to Darwin because it was the first film I worked on. It was the first like major feature. It went on to gross like $8 million, $9 million at the box office, whatever it was. I think it was 8.5 last time I checked back 5 odd years ago. But then you have to think physical media releases, streaming releases, digital sales, all this other stuff. They would have definitely made more than that. But how does film actually get? How does it actually get split up? Who gets rich off these things? Well, the way film works is like, let's say Screen Australia guarantee, okay, we're going to produce this movie for $4 million, which is what the budget for Last Cab to Darwin was. It was $4 million. What happens is typically the studio will get their money back out of it first, and then after that, everything starts getting split up after the production, after the studio have their money out of it. So obviously that was paid for first, and then I know people had percentages on this movie, which I'm not going to go into to protect privacy, but I know what certain percentages were. I know who was getting what. Not too far up the chain, I do know certain people took somewhat ownership of the movie and took points. But you know, that's how film works. Like an actor might choose to say, okay, you don't have to pay us up front out of the budget, but when it goes to release, we want X amount of points out of this movie for the future. And that's how so many people have made their money. I mean, I think Robert Downey Jr. had some sort of say in Marvel, that some sort of deal with Marvel that was like that. I don't know if that's true, you'd have to look into it, but I believe I heard something about that where they'll get a certain amount of points depending how the movie done. This is how Last Cab of Darwin was done as well. I think Michael Smith early on, definitely really good. You could see he was going places. I didn't get to meet Jackie Weaver. She was definitely, she was in this movie, but she was in the Darwin filming of the Darwin phase of this movie. So I didn't get to go to Darwin. I was only in the Broken Hill phase of the movie. I'm actually in the movie. If you can spot me, me and my friend are in one of the early shots where Michael Caine is driving around town, and it's when "Girls in the Avenue." I think that's the song, "Girls on the Avenue." I think it's who sang that song. Was it? I don't remember exactly. I'm a bit young, but I'm not that young. But yeah, that song slips my mind. But it's "Girls on the Avenue" or something. "Girls in the Avenue." Don't know the exact name, but it's while that song is playing and he's driving around town, and I'm in there somewhere. You'll see me if you can catch me. I'm probably there for about half a second to a minute. Not even half a second, like a few seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds on screen. But it's still kind of cool that I'm in this film. I also noticed when I watched this movie, like all the little Easter eggs, like, oh, so and so's in the background there, or hey, that went wrong when we were filming that, or hey, I was actually sleeping in that room when yeah, like there's little things like, because we didn't have security on this film, so someone had to stay in the houses that were actually used on screen and watch them. And I was actually given the task of sleeping in Michael Caine's on-screen house, which is pretty cool. Like, looking back at it, it's pretty hilarious, but it's also like, wow, okay. When I watch this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, I slept in that room. I was watching TV in that room. It's like pretty hilarious. But, you know, that's part of cinema. Like, the Australian film industry is a lot smaller than the American one. Obviously, America would have a lot more money to throw around, but with Australia, we didn't have much money, and we came in on budget at $4 million at the end of the day, and went on to gross quite a lot of money. So obviously, look, a film like Last Cab of Darwin is great Australian cinema. You need to watch the movie to find out how it ends, and I'm not going to give away any plot spoilers during this movie, but like, great Australian cinema. And what else do I know about it? I've kind of danced around mentioning one person at the moment because one of the cast members on this movie has since passed away, and she was an Indigenous Australian. I am Indigenous Australian myself, and I felt a connection to her when I was working with her. I just felt a close personal connection because we were both, for lack of a better word, we were both we were both blackfellas. We were both working on this movie, and we were just like, she was so down to earth, and I had watched her growing up, and I had watched her in other movies. I'm trying not to mention the name because I don't know how her family feel about the name being mentioned, and I'm trying to be very careful of that. I want to be very respectful. I don't want to just assume that her family were okay with her name being mentioned. So that's why I'm doing this in a way where it's trying to be respectful of her family's wishes, if that's what their wishes were. Maybe she wanted to be remembered, in which case I don't know if I'd re-record it, but like I wouldn't just assume it. But yeah, the way she passed as well was very, very sad to me. I found out through my career in news that I went into work one day and I saw on the screen, so-and-so had died. And I was like, oh my God, like, no, like it was so sad. I was like, that messed me up a bit when she passed away, because I was writing a film script, and I was writing something because I was working in news at this time, and I was writing a film script because I wanted to return to the film industry. And I was like, yeah, I'll write something, but I want her to play the mum, because I was like, I had this script I was writing. I was about probably a couple 15, 20 pages in. I was like, oh yeah, this will be funny. She'll know how to interpret this, and also I just wanted to work with her again because she was awesome, and I loved watching her on screen. But yeah, once she passed, I kind of lost the passion to do that project and continue writing, because I did have her in mind for a character, and to look at that script now, in large part, a lot of the script was based around how she would have portrayed that character. But you know, she's gone now, and I know she's in a better place. But you know, I'm not gonna, out of respect, I'm not gonna mention her name, and because I don't know how her family feel about her name being mentioned, and I'm going to be very careful of that. As an Indigenous Australian myself, I know I'm being very respectful of that, and I have to be very careful of that. So yeah, Michael Caine, all-star cast. About a cab driver driving to Darwin, 3,000 kilometres up the Unitata track to Darwin to go through voluntary euthanasia to end his situation with cancer. Very good Australian movie, very dark, not dark, but like very emotional, very, what can I say? It's a very gritty kind of depiction. There's scenes in this movie where there's a scene where Michael Caine's almost robbed, and yeah, it's a really good movie. If you have the chance to see it, it's great Australian cinema, and I'm not just saying that because I have a bias because I worked on it. It's definitely worth a watch. If you have not watched Last Cab to Darwin, you will not be disappointed. Last Cab to Darwin. 10 years old today in terms of production, 9 years old today in terms of when it was released, because this was released in 2015. But to me, it's 10 years old this year because I worked on the production. So to me, this is one of my babies. This is one of the movies I'm very passionate about and I love with all my heart because I worked on it. And I hope if you guys watched this movie, jump down in the comments, let me know what you thought about it. Let me know what was your experience with watching it? What do you think happened at the end? Because so many people have asked me, what does the ending mean? And I'm like, well, how do you interpret it? I mean, look, I understand because I had a chat with, back when production was going on, I had a chat with Jeremy, I had a chat with Lisa, I had a chat with Greg Duffy, I had a chat with everyone, and we all came to the conclusion of how the movie actually ended. Because as I said, it was based on a true story. I mean, the true story is out there. It's a Four Corners episode. But we came to the conclusion of leave it open. People can make their own interpretation. Definitely worth checking out. And if you like this movie, like, subscribe, chuck a comment down below, and I may talk about the other movies I've worked on. One of which is Brett Lee in a Bollywood movie I worked on. If you know what movie I'm talking about, leave that down in the comments as well. If you can figure out what was the other movie I worked on, because I've only worked on 2 major films in my life. And if you know what the other movie is, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Jump in the comments, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, whatever else YouTubers say. I'm trying to be this YouTuber thing at the moment, so I don't know. What else do YouTubers tell you to do? Just do what other YouTubers tell you to do to me. So yeah, peace out, and I'll catch you in the next one.